Welcome, everyone, to the From the Shadows podcast. I am your sort of sunburned host, Shane Grove. And with me, as always, is the super producer, Jason. What's happening, Jason?
Greetings, everybody. I'm doing good. How about you? You're too sunburned to do your job today, or what?
I don't know. I got a little bit sunburned, and that's a surprise because, we just came back from vacation, and the sun was only out like a day and a half, and I still managed to somehow get sunburn on my chest, which, nobody really wants to see anyway, because, since we'll segue into the Outer Banks history and lore, because my chest certainly is a sunken chest that is not full of treasure. Just, do you have the sound effect of the dun dun? Come on.
I'll have to get that together for you.
Add that in post production. Okay. Well, as you know, Jason, we kind of put out there on an Outer Banks Facebook page and asked for some people's ghost stories or paranormal experiences. Just in the anticipation that we were going to be down there for a week and we might get to go do something cool. And actually, a very recent guest that was on the podcast, Chris from New Jersey, was somebody that responded to that post and told a couple of his really cool ghost stories from Pennhurst and Gettysburg. Mm-hmm. And one of the other suggestions that I got from that post was that I needed to contact a young lady by the name of Julia, and that she knew a lot of lore, a lot of history about the Outer Banks. And so being somebody who follows directions pretty good most of the time, I got a hold of Julia. Wait. I didn't ask for that sound effect. What's going on?
I almost choked.
but based on talking to Julia, I ended up taking our group on a historical ghost tour of I don't know how I want to frame this. We didn't go throughout the Outer Banks, but we met in a small town, and I know I'm going to butcher the name, Manio, although it's not spelled that way. Maybe it's not even pronounced that way. I don't know. And she was a guide and took us on a little historical ghost tour. And I mean, it was fascinating. A lot of people go on vacations and don't really check out the history of the location they're at. And the Outer Banks and these areas were some of the first areas where people from other countries came to America and kind of settled. And there's some great history there. And Julia is a fantastic guide. I can't even put it into words how much fun we had going on this tour. So I'm going to introduce Julia to the audience, and then I think by the time we're done talking, everybody's going to understand how much fun and how much information we got at the same time. Like, it was fun to learn. Okay. Jason, if she would have been my teacher in school, I might have learned something. I might have.
Now that's a heck of a compliment right there. Yeah.
So Julia, welcome to the program, and thanks for joining us so early in the morning.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, it is a little early, but it's all good.
Now, before anybody thinks we're terrible for having Julia get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's not that early. But
no.
So, Julia, do you want to, introduce yourself to our fans and our listeners, and let them know a little bit about yourself and how you ended up where you're at, doing what you're doing.
Okay, well, that's sort of a long, twisted tale that we don't have a lot of time for. But hi, everyone. My name is Julia. I am a long-term resident here of Dare County. I've lived in the county full-time for 43 years. I graduated from high school in Manio. Yes, you did say it correctly. It is pronounced Manio. We do not pronounce the T because in the South, we don't have time for all those letters when we talk. I went to school in Manio, and through various things, I've done a lot of theater work with the local community theater and stuff, and I found an audition for this company, and long story short, I have been a ghost tour guide for 6 years now. I walk around at night and tell some historical ghost tours and have some fun with some guests. It's a cool job.
Yes, and so everybody and you know, the owner of the company and you know, we want to make everybody aware as we're telling this, like we're not going to an old abandoned building and doing a ghost hunt with trying to capture EVPs and
no.
Now you do encourage.
No, we're not an investigation group. We walk around a waterfront and we talk about some historical happenings here in the area and stuff. But yeah, no investigation or anything like that. But I'm sure there are locations around here that you could have experiences in, and there have been some experiences.
Yeah, and I saw firsthand some pretty cool pictures that you showed the group. That is something that you encourage, people to take a lot of pictures and then kind of share them with everybody if there's something. In fact, we took a picture, somebody in our group took a picture that sort of seems like there might be something in it. I think it's going to require a little bit more scrutiny, before I throw it up there and say, hey, we think we saw a spirit or something unexplained. But it really is a cool little. I will say this, that as we started walking around Manio, it really
Manio.
like Manio, when you really get. And I don't know if it's just the subjects we're talking about, or how abandoned the town is after sundown, but it really gives off some vibes like, hey, if you stick around long enough, something's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It really gives off some spooky little vibes in this town, which is kind of cool. And I didn't feel in danger or anything. I don't want anybody to think that, but it really felt like, hey, I think there are some ghosts hanging out around here,
Manio can feel very lonesome and quiet at night.
Yeah.
Like you said, most of the shops close up about 5 o'clock, and it doesn't matter if it's January or July. At 5 o'clock, their day is done and they're going home. And after that time, the streets get sort of empty, and it can feel a little creepy, especially when it gets so dark around there with no street light.
We're really selling the town, I think.
We are.
I'm visualizing it. I'm like, that's the perfect place.
I'm going to tell you, it would be the perfect spot for a sort of like a scary movie. Like just the atmosphere itself would be kind of cool. So, and speaking of movies. Okay, so Julia, the one thing I want you to kind of tell our guest is definitely the whole history and some of the stories from the movie theater downtown, because I know Jason will dig this, and Julia, and we're in a movie that's coming out this summer. Jason and I are, and I don't know if it'll hit the screen in Manio, but it'd be super cool. I would make a special trip back down if it hit this. If it made this.
And I will make the trip over to the Pioneer to see that movie if it's being shown for sure.
I'll definitely, because it would fit. It kind of fit the area.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to tell everybody about the Pioneer movie theater down there?
It's called the Ye Old Pioneer Movie Theater, and it is said to be the oldest single-screen single-family, continuously run movie theater in America. It's been owned and operated by the Creef family since 1918. So 103 years now they've been in continuous operation. Now, they moved into their current location in 1934. So they've been where they are now for quite a while. And they do one showing a night. Tickets are only $7 each. Their amazing popcorn and drinks are only $2 each. You know, so you can go and see a brand new first run movie for under, $15 a person. Well, most theaters you can't even get into for that anymore.
I know.
You know, by the time you popcorn, a drink, and a ticket, you're into a $75 night.
No kidding.
But the Pioneers, so they're, they have a large capacity. They seat over 250 people, and they've got a huge, almost IMAX-sized screen. So it's this really cool theater, and, it just happens to be haunted. So that's just a little added bonus to the movies.
I love it already.
Yeah, H.A. Creef, the man that ran the theater forever, it seemed. He passed away a few years ago, but he is still with us in the theater. Jason, who works at the concession stand most nights, has had a number of experiences. He has been sweeping between the aisles after the shows, and he'll see strange, shadows in front of the broom. Sometimes the broom will sort of stand itself up, sort of Mr. Creef's way of saying, hey, you need to get to sweeping. We have heard whistles, that loud, sharp whistle in the auditorium, which was Mr. Creef's way of signaling people. He was calling you out for something. He would whistle to get your attention. Just like he hated cell phones. And if he caught you with your phone out during the movie, he would take it from you. And he would give it back to your parents when they picked you up from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell them, hey, he or she, they were being rude with their phone. You need to teach them some manners. So, yeah, he didn't pull punches when it came to, how you're supposed to act in a movie theater. Jason saw a girl come out of the theater one day with her phone in her hand, like she was texting. And he said it looked like somebody smacked the back of her hand because her phone flew up in the air and came crashing to the floor. Probably Mr. Creef telling her, hey, knock it off. You're here to watch a movie and you're disturbing other people. Cut it out. Yeah, so
I think most movie theaters could use a Mr. Creef.
Yes, yep. I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, he that's perfect.
Yeah, and his son, who runs it now, is just like him. He's like, nope, you are not doing that in my theater and disturbing my other guests. And so, yeah, that apple didn't fall far from the tree. But yeah, there've been all sorts of other experiences. I had someone take a picture in the lobby one night, and when we looked through the pictures, they were standing on the ceiling, upside down. We've had the same type of pictures taken out on the sidewalk in front of the box office under their sign, people standing on their heads.
Wow.
Most likely Mr. Creef messing with people. He had a really, really good sense of humor. He really liked to mess with people. What else goes on at the Pioneer? We've seen orbs in the auditorium. I had some girls go in to use the restroom one night, and the girl didn't lock the door when she went in because her friend was just standing outside of it. And when she went to come out of the bathroom, the door was locked from the inside. That's probably Mr. Creef telling her, you need to lock the bathroom door when you're using it. Manners, courtesy, don't let someone walk in on you. So that's happened. I had someone go in the bathroom, and while they were in there, they said the door knob was rattling. They came out wanting to know who it was, and it's like, no, sorry, we've all been standing right here. It wasn't any of us. Her friend said, that's okay. I don't have to go that bad, and refused to use the bathroom after that.
Hey,
Poor thing.
on a side note, the next day after after we went on the ghost tour, our whole group was at a restaurant eating, and Jason's Todd's who I went on vacation with. Todd went into the bathroom at the restaurant we were at, and his wife, because it was one of those restrooms where it was guy-girl, restroom. So his wife then went back is like, I'm going to use, went to open the door, and Todd didn't lock the door. So apparently Todd didn't remember the lesson from the ghost tour of lock the door. and when she came back out and told us that, I was like, God, where did I just hear that about locking the bathroom door? And you just reminded me it was from the ghost tour. I'm sorry.
No, that's funny.
That's funny. And then when Todd listens to this episode, he's gonna be like, I can't believe you just told everybody that. Sorry, Todd. Anyway.
Todd, you've been outed. I bet you'll lock the door from now on.
Yeah. Now the one really cool story that you told that just blew my mind was the one about the actress or the lady who ended up.
Her name was Brenda Holland. She was a makeup artist with the Lost Colony in 1967. And unfortunately, she was found murdered one night. She had been strangled to death, and she was found at the foot of the Old Man's Harbor Bridge. Now, we don't know what actually happened to Brenda. The story has been told that she had stayed with her boyfriend that night, and she had gotten up early in the morning to walk home. Because in those days, the actors and the technicians, they lived with families in town. They didn't have their own place to live. After Brenda's murder, a local doctor donated money and land to build an apartment complex for the actors to live in, so they now have their own community. It's called Morrison Grove. And that was directly a result of Brenda's murder. But for Brenda, she had, stayed over with her boyfriend. She got up early in the morning to walk home, and that was the last time she was ever seen alive. She was found 5 days later, strangled to death at the foot of the Old Man's Harbor Bridge. Now, there were a couple of theories as to what happened. One being that there was a quote-unquote serial type killer in the area that summer, and that he may have gotten her. Unfortunately, the more likely or plausible story is that she was murdered by a local dentist who was known for fits of alcoholic rage. And him and his wife had had a huge fight that night, and she had run away. Well, unfortunately, Brenda and the dentist's wife were very similar looking. Same sort of body shape, build, same sort of hair. So we think that Brenda may have been murdered by mistake, sort of mistaken identity. But we may never know, because all the accusations against the dentist were very quickly and quietly swept under the rug. I don't know why. I do not want to speculate, because the FBI has reopened Brenda's cold case, because we've passed the 50th anniversary of her death. But the dentist and the sheriff were best friends. They were lodge brothers together. So, everything sort of got quietly sort of swept under the rug, so to speak. And then a few years after the murder, the dentist committed suicide. And he left no confession, no note. So I guess unless maybe we hold a seance and talk to the dentist, we may never know. But like I said, the FBI has reopened the case, and we're hoping that as people get older, that maybe they'll remember something or be willing to talk about it. And we're hoping to find some evidence to finally find out what happened to Brenda.
And Brenda,
Probably, Brenda's probably not from the area either, right? I mean, she wasn't from that area. She was just there for the Lost Colony production. Yeah,
exactly. So. She was here working with the colony, and I am not sure where Brenda was from, and I should probably do a little research so I know that, because that might be a good piece of information just to have when people ask me questions on the tours. I try to say, oh, that's a good question. I'll have to dig up that answer so I know for the next time.
There you go.
Maybe I'm worth something. Maybe I'm worth something. So the interesting
you are.
So the craziest part of this story, though, is what you're going to tell next.
Right. Is you have to have the background of who Brenda is and what happened to her to understand what happens next. So the next summer, the summer of '68, on the night that the Lost Colony was dark, that they didn't have a performance, Mr. Kreef would invite the colonists, the actors and the technicians, into the theater to watch that week's movie. In those days, they had a new movie every Friday night. They will now run a movie for more than 1 week. But in those days, it was every Friday there was a brand new movie. So he would invite the colonists in to watch that week's movie. So the next summer came along, '68, and the colonists came in to watch a showing of the movie, No Way to Treat a Lady. There's a scene in the movie where a man is reading a newspaper, and the people in the audience say that the man turned the page and some sort of smoke or mist came off of the paper, and there was Brenda Holland's obituary. Well, needless to say, this freaked them out a bit. So they went to projectors, told them what they'd seen, rewound it, replayed it, and sure enough, the man turned the page, that smoke or mist came off the paper, and sure as fire, there was Brenda Holland's obituary. It's not part of the movie. No other screening of the movie in the Pioneer or any theater in the nation ever reported seeing Brenda Holland's obituary. It only appeared to the people she had worked with the summer before. So, yeah, Brenda wanted to let them know, hey, I'm still with you. Thanks for thinking of me. So, yeah.
That is one of the spookiest things I've ever heard in relation to, I mean, to manipulate what people are seeing on the screen and then have the projectionist rewind it and then see it again is so crazy. Like that should be like one of the best movie urban legends of all time.
Yeah, it should be up there. That's for sure.
Yeah, so you definitely worth coming down to the Pioneer and checking out a cool movie, and you never know. You pull out your cell phone, see if you can. See if you can make Mr. Kreef mad.
No.
I don't want to provoke his wrath myself.
No way. Although I got to admit, the $2 popcorn is very tempting.
Yes, it is.
It's really good popcorn. And they have that really good crushed ice in their drink.
Oh, that's the best. All movie theaters should still have that.
Yeah, and you'll see that people will pull up to the Pioneer and just get popcorn and a drink. They're not there to see the movie. They're just there to get a popcorn and a drink and take it home. During the pandemic, when they were closed, and they couldn't show movies, they were open from 6 to 8 every night, selling popcorn and drinks at the curbside.
That's brilliant.
Because everybody had to stay home to watch movies. They could, I mean, for 2 hours you could sell all kinds of popcorn and drink. Probably people knew and wanted to.
Yeah, and their popcorn is so good that, like, if one of the local churches is having a movie night, they will go to the Pioneer, and you'll see like one of those big black, like 55-gallon trash bags sitting on the floor full of popcorn for the church their movie night.
That's spectacular. Yeah, hey, Jason, this is we didn't get to go in, but you look from the outside of the building and it's kind of Like, to tell me that there's an IMAX sized screen in there and seating for 200 people, I'd say you're nuts. You know, that's just a little screen with 50 seats in it. So I am looking forward to, at some point in the future, going back and actually going to a movie there. I think that would be kind of a cool experience.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yes. If I lived around there, I would probably go at least once a week. Because I'm known to go see a movie more than once.
Well, and when they reopened after the pandemic, they had limited seating, and so they were showing older movies. So I went to the Pioneer, and I saw Jaws on the big screen for the second time.
Oh,
Nice.
That was They showed Shrek. I wanted to go back, and they showed The Wizard of Oz.
Ooh.
And I really wanted to go see that, but I had a heart attack, so I was in the hospital instead. But that's a different story for a different day.
No, we're glad you made it through.
I hope it wasn't too much butter on the popcorn. You know, that's not very good.
Yeah, it's going to take more than a heart attack to stop me. So,
well, so another really, really cool story from the area, and I don't think people that even go on vacation down there realize exactly where they're at. But you mentioned the Lost Colony a couple times, and people are thinking, "What the heck's a Lost Colony?" But I mean, of course, all of us conspiracy theorists, and paranormal lovers know what the Lost Colony is and its place in American history. You want to kind of share what that is down there, and then maybe some other ghost stories down there?
This is where America truly began, on Roanoke Island, North Carolina, in 1587. There were actually 3 attempts: 1584, 1585, and 1587. 1584 and 1585 were both military-type expeditions. All men coming over, seeing what was doable, what wasn't, all that stuff. So the most famous voyage is the 1587. That is the first voyage that contained women and children. And that is the voyage that contained Governor Wright, his daughter Eleanor, and her husband Ananias Dare. Now, this was not a fun trip at sea. This was 3 solid months at sea. The ships were overcrowded. There was little or no ventilation. There was little or no sanitation. And Eleanor made the trip about 6 months pregnant. So, yeah, 3 solid months at sea being 6 months pregnant. Oh, how miserable could that have been? But because of that, on August 18th, 1587, the very first English child in the New World was born, a young girl named Virginia Dare. And I talk about on the tour that I try to really impress upon people that this is where America began, Roanoke Island. It didn't start in St. Augustine, Florida in 1565 because, I'm sorry, we did not win our independence from the Spanish. We bought them out down there in 1814, and Jamestown didn't get going for another 30 years, not until 1607 in the next century, actually. So 1587, Roanoke Island, North Carolina, truly is America's beginnings, and it's right here in Manteo. We have the Fort Raleigh National Historical Site, and then the Lost Colony Theater, which is America's longest-running outdoor drama. They've just opened for their 84th production season. A few years back, the Lost Colony received a Tony Award for excellence in theater. So it's a Tony Award-winning show, and they tell the story of these colonists. So what we know of the colony, I mean, these people have been lost, but what we know of it's been fairly well documented. We've got the play, we've had books, we've had movies, we've had TV shows. Some of them are pretty accurate. Some of them are way out in left field. some of these people need to be wearing tinfoil hats. I mean, because, yeah. I mean, I've had people tell me that they truly believe that wraiths, like evil spirit wraiths, killed all the people on the island. It's like, where are you coming up with this information? I've lived here for over 40 years, and I've never heard of wraiths on Roanoke Island. So, yeah, so
I'll tell you, if there are rakes on Roanoke Island, don't go back. Those are right.
I've spent a lot of time on the grounds of the Lost Colony, and they are gorgeous, absolutely beautiful grounds. Definitely have to visit them, whether you're going to see the play or not. If you're not, if you're not into going on them at night when it's sort of dark and get sort of really creepy, go back during the day because they're just not to be missed. There's been all sorts of activities. People, being the last people in the theater at night, have heard singing coming from the stage. We don't know who it is. It could be Native Americans. It could be colonists. It could be echoes of 80-some years of drama. I've never heard the singing, but I did hear the murmur of audience noise come from the stage area one night. I've actually heard that twice. So that's definitely echoes of drama past. The men's dressing room that they use for the show is so haunted that actors will not go in there by themselves after dark. They have heard footsteps, voices, and they've seen costuming move. For a number of years, I was a member of the Ghost of the Lost Colony show. There's sort of a pattern or a theme to my life, it sort of seems. Which isn't a bad thing. At least it's something fun. And so I was in the men's dressing room setting up for the show one night. And as I was getting ready to walk out, I heard footsteps in the hallway behind me. Now, I knew I was the only person in that building. But you have to turn around to look because that's just human nature. So sure enough, I turned around to look, and there was no one there. So I just called down the hallway, and I said, hey, I've got a show tonight. I'll be back later. And I walked out. I think sort of that you talk to a ghost, they just want you to know that they're there, which is why they're making noise and stuff. So acknowledge them. Say, hey, how you doing? So from that night on, when I'd open up the dressing room, I'd just sort of call into the building, hey, how you doing? You got another show? And as I was closing it up for the night, I'd say, hey, that was a good show tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, or whatever. And they never bothered me again. So that was it. There have been all sorts of experiences. The reconstructed earthen mounds that mark one of the original defensive forts for the colonists. People have heard musket fire come off of them. People have also seen strange lights over them. And a couple of people have reported seeing armed guards standing near them. Now, I've never seen the guards or heard the musket fire, but I have heard a sharp, shrill whistle come off of the ground, off the mounds. Some of the park rangers they do little guided tours of the grounds through the historical site that you can take with a park ranger. And I had a park ranger tell me that while they were sitting at the mounds talking about the colonists, that one of the guests said, well, who's he? And they all looked up, and a full body apparition of a guard in armament just walked past them. So that was pretty cool.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. The community theater was doing a show in their soundstage, and one of the teenagers went up to use the bathroom in the rain shelter, and she was greeted by a full body apparition of a soldier in full armament, carrying a halberd and the metal pointy armored helmet, the whole 9 yards. That poor child will not go to the bathroom by herself there anymore. Poor girl. What else is happening around? Oh, the Indian drums. People have been in the maritime forest between the Lost Colony grounds and the Elizabethan Gardens next door. And, they've been there in the evening, jogging, walking their dogs. It's a beautiful maritime forest. Well, everything will be fine. And then they say all of a sudden, all the hair stands up on the back of their neck and they get that creepy, I need to get out of here and I need to get out of here now feeling. And then they start to hear very loud, very aggressive sounding Indian drums beating in the woods. And they say that feeling is so creepy that it doesn't leave them until they're in their vehicle and almost completely off of the property. One year for the ghost show, I was the Indian drums in the woods every night. And I never had any problems with drums, but I did hear almost nightly at about the same time, soft, distant bagpipe music. And yet, bagpipe music isn't something that you easily mistake for something,
Oh,
And so I didn't think yeah.
No, it's pretty unique.
So if someone on the north end of the island was playing bagpipes, who cares, right? Well, I just happened to mention it one night in the dressing room to my fellow actors. And they looked at me and they said, "What bagpipes, Julia? I don't hear bagpipes." And I looked at this one girl, I'm like, Annette, you are less than 100 yards through the woods from me. And she was. She was right through the woods next to me. She didn't hear them. It's like, oh, great. Just what I needed to know. Fortunately, I found a friend who had done the show for years, and he had heard bagpipes. So I know I'm not alone. Thank goodness.
But there's no.
What would be the reason for bagpipes, even ghostly bagpipes?
If you find out, let me know, because I am clueless. Yeah, I have no idea.
I
Nobody
think the next time somebody sees, one of those full-bodied apparitions, they need to ask, "Hey, what happened to the lost colony?"
Right.
Maybe somebody will answer. I don't know.
They might answer in the EVP.
Yeah, but I have seen, and of course, the lost colony, the lost colony mystery itself. I've seen some really cool, documentaries on that, and heard some great podcasts on that mystery. And I think that you mentioned that there's a couple archaeological digs going on right now that may shed some light on that, on what happened or where those colonists actually ended up.
Yeah, and the lead archaeologist for that is a guy by the name of Scott Dawson. And Scott has just published a book called The Lost Colony and Hatteras Island. And that talks all about the colony and his archaeological digs and what they are finding. He used to come, I worked at a convenience store that he used to frequent, so I'd always ask him, because I'm just nosy like that. I'm like, "Hey, Scott, you finding anything?" I'm curious. I want to know. And about a year or so, maybe a year and a half ago now, because 2020, we all just lost that year. Nothing happened that year.
Right.
He came in one day and said, "Hey, finding anything? Anything going on?" He says, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, we just found a fully intact French pistol that still had a flint in it down in Hatteras."
Wow.
Now, how did the English came over, not the French. And so the best speculation we have for that is that one of the Englishmen had traded for it and had brought it with them. So, they are finding stuff, seriously finding stuff down on Hatteras. So,
That is That's kind of cool to think that all the hundreds and hundreds of years later that you might be able to find an answer just from you know digging around, because that landscape changes constantly, being so close to the ocean.
Oh yeah, like I'll have people ask me, because when the colonists left their fort, Governor Wright had gone back to England for supplies, and he told them before he left that if they have to leave the fort for any reason, to carve on a tree or a palisade where they were going. And so when Governor Wright finally got back to the fort, it was actually 3 years later, he found two carvings. One said CRO and the other says Croatoan, which sort of leads him to believe that maybe the Croatoan Indians on Hatteras Island had taken in his people. But the Indians, one tribe was friendly, one tribe wasn't. So we don't know what could have happened to these people. The Indians could have taken them in. They could have been killed off by disease. They have done some work. They've done some investigation on trees in the area, and come to find out that during that time, like 1588, 1589, in that area, that we were in the middle of a severe drought, and that could have helped contribute to the demise of the colonist. So,
I don't think, and I've never heard that they found a lot of human remains there, right? Like that they all passed away there. So they obviously left the island. And
right.
One of the interesting things I heard and have read is that there were rumors, because that's all there were, is people talking back in those days, of some of the Indian tribes up and down in that area having people or members of those tribes that were obviously of mixed race, that
absolutely we
like
have
redheaded Indian, like a redheaded Indian, or it's like
we have 100% Native Americans in the area that have blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm sorry, but if you are Native American, you have dark hair, dark eye, and dark skin. That's just the genetics of it.
Right.
And you don't get blonde hair and blue eyes unless you breed with the English.
Yeah, that's one of America's greatest mysteries, and for sure. And it's so cool though to be down there, and you're out on the beach, and I think we talked about how many shipwrecks there were in the area, and you just think, this is such a very commercialized area, seafood restaurants, ice cream places, condos, nice houses, but you don't realize that not really that long ago, it was just beach and scrubland. You know what I'm saying? It was wilderness, and people were landing there for the first time, trying to make their way inland. And I can't even imagine. I've seen the lots where it's that real thick. I don't even know what you would call it, but to me, it's like brush, and it's not trees, it's not grass, it's the stuff that would just
exactly
only grow.
What it is. It's brush. Just scrub.
I can't imagine making your way through that just to see if there's an inhabitable piece of land somewhere or fresh water. So to sit there and think about that history, and then of what this place was, and that's just a small part of America, but it's a very rich, obviously very rich history, and we haven't even gotten into the pirates and everything else that goes on down there. So
no, and one of the things that we don't talk about on my tour, because it's not really along the same lines of what I'm doing, is the Wright brothers. This is where the Wright brothers flew. So this really, truly is our nickname is the Land of Beginnings. And it really, truly is fitting because this is where America began. Year 1587 with the Lost Colonists. This is where aviation began with the Wright brothers in 1907. So it's a very historical area.
Jason, do we have to tell her the Wright brothers are really from Ohio and they just went down there on a vacation and happened to...
No, sweetheart. They came down here to fly because Ohio wasn't suitable for it.
Oh,
we are
Boulder
famous for our wind. We are famous for our wind.
Yeah, I know. It's
funny. I'll have people down here on vacation, and and they'll get to blowing down here. I mean, it'll get to be blowing 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, and that's just the way it is down here. And I've had people go, "Oh my goodness, it's so windy, blah blah blah," and I just look and I say, "We're famous for our wind. The reason the Wright brothers chose this place."
Yeah, that is true though.
Yeah, there is a lot of fantastic history down there. It's not just a place to just to go and get sunburn on your sunken treasure chest. Trust me, there's a lot of cool stuff to do. Now, Julia, have you had any other paranormal type experiences down there while you've been a short, long-term resident of Manio?
Well, I did have one really weird experience on the grounds of the Lost Colony. Yeah, we keep coming back to the colony.
Okay.
One night, it was after, I don't know, maybe after one of the ghost shows one night, me and a couple of actors were just hanging out in the parking lot by our cars. You just talk. I mean, that's what actors do after a show. They just sort of hang out for a while and chit chat about who missed their cue and, whatever happened during the performance. So we're talking. Now, park rangers get off work at 5 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. They are never on the grounds after then. So it's probably about 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock at night. And we look up and we see headlights coming through the parking lot. Well, it's unusual because, we're the only people there. So we watch, and sure enough, it's a park ranger, which was in itself weird at 10 o'clock at night. So he just pulled up and said, "Hey, what are y'all doing?" It's like, "Oh, we're part of the show. We're just hanging out." He said, "Oh, have a good night," and he drove off. Well, as he drove off, all three of us looked the way he was going and followed his taillight. And about that time, about maybe 100, 200 feet over top of the tree line, this bright yellow light suddenly appeared. Then two red lights appeared on each side of it. Then the yellow light in the middle blinked out. The two red lights blinked out, and it was gone. And about 10 seconds later, we all heard and felt this low-level sort of rumble. It almost felt like it was coming from the earth, this sort of rumble and shaking. And that lasted for maybe a minute. And then maybe 10 minutes later, if that long, 2 or 3 fighter jets came screaming overhead in the same direction that the lights were headed. So that was probably Cherry Point. We have Cherry Point military base, Air Force base not far from us. So they probably scrambled fighters from Cherry Point or possibly from Norfolk Naval Air Station to figure out what these lights were. So, yeah. So that was sort of an interesting night on the colony grounds.
And I will attest to being out, if you're out there on the beach at all, there's a military helicopter or plane that goes over at least once while you're out there on the beach. So there is military traffic there.
Right.
And it's not.
Yeah.
And I think you telling that story added another twist to what happened to the colonists of Roanoke. What if a UFO? What if that's what happened to the colonists at Roanoke?
Right. See, those are your tinfoil. Those are your tinfoil people. They're the ones who think that UFO landed and took them away.
Hey, look, you were you wearing your tinfoil hat that night? That night in the park?
Yeah. I must have, because they didn't take me.
I mean, maybe there's a reason there's a couple military bases real close to that area.
Yeah.
Holy smoke.
Well,
and
we do get a lot of military traffic because we do have a bombing range out in the western part of the county, out in Stumpy Point. That is a military practice bombing range. So you get, they come down here to do bombing runs. So yeah, military traffic over in our airspace is very common.
And I think if anything, we've learned in the last year when it comes to the military and unidentified aerial phenomena, or whatever they're calling it now.
Right.
They go hand in hand. So if we're going to see military planes, we're probably going to see some stuff that we don't know what it is and they don't know what it is, because they've admitted as much. So that just adds to the whole allure.
Just adds a layer to it.
Yeah. To what's going on down there. So, and I got to admit, I'm envious of you getting to, number one, live down there and live in the part that's a little less commercialized. Okay. You get to enjoy what it's really all about, living on the water and enjoying the beach but the history that you get to be a part of on a, you do the tour, 3 nights a week? Or 4?
We do it 3 nights a week.
3 nights a week. I mean, that just has to be. That's the job everybody wants, is to get to go talk about ghosts and history and all the cool stuff, and then and do it in a place like that. I mean, my hat's off. I mean, you've in my book, I think you got the dream. You got a dream job.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we even do it in the off season. After Labor Day, or so we'll go to 2 nights a week, to Wednesdays and Saturdays. And if somebody calls us in January and says, "Hey, can I do a ghost tour?" I will bundle up and I'll go do a ghost tour in the middle of winter.
You heard it here first.
Yep, that's dedication right there.
Yeah. It's like, I've got plenty of clothing. I hope they do.
Well,
I like the Power Man. I have 27 layers.
Well, I would strongly encourage any of our listeners from all around the world, if you're going to plan a vacation and you've never been to the Outer Banks or the area, number one, go check it out. It's a great place to go and spend a week. Do a Google search, find historical ghost tours, and you're going to find Julia, and go take a ghost tour. It'll be super informative. It'll be fun, and not that the other tour guides didn't seem like they were fun or informative, but no, I don't think anybody leads a tour quite like Julia does. So, so I encourage everybody that is into history and into just having some fun, to come down and see you.
I'd love to see them all on a tour. That would be great.
Well, Julia, I want to thank you for getting up early and hanging out with us.
You're welcome, Shay.
And thank you for hosting us the other night. It was a lot of fun, and we had learned a lot of stuff. The only person apparently didn't learn anything was Todd.
Well, it sounds like you guys had a lot of fun. I wish I was there.
It was fun. And
you'll have to come along.
Yes.
Write it off.
Well, Jason's the guy that when you ask, does anybody have any questions? He kept us there for another 15 minutes asking questions. So
I've had people like that before. I know how to handle them. A lot of times, if you keep asking, I'll start answering the questions as we're walking. I'm like, well, let's walk and talk. Let's keep it moving.
Just keeps things right on pace then.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Julia, thanks for spending some time with us. It was great to meet you, and hope when we get back into that area, we'll come back and see you again. And if anybody has any other cool stories from that area, be sure to get a hold of us, because it's
definitely. I got your number. I know where to find you.
All right. I appreciate that. So, well, thanks again, Julia, and you have a great day and a great rest of the season. Hopefully,
indeed.
Hopefully it's eventful. So we'll talk. So
tomorrow night.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk to you, Julia. Thank you again so much.
All right. Thanks, Julia. Yep.
Thank you, Shane. Have a wonderful day now.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.